Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Neutral News Network. I'm Brian alongside Jake and Zach. And just wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning in on this Wednesday. We are halfway through February almost. Only got 2 more days until we're halfway through the month. And it's crazy. The weeks just keep stacking up here. But we actually made it back to back episodes. We didn't skip a week this week. So we're on the right track. All
Well,
right.
that's due to our health too.
Well, that's yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We're finally. Well, Jake, you did try to mess that up by getting a flu shot right before the stream yesterday. So I get it.
yeah.
I get it. Yeah, but you
Bold
got lucky. You
strategy.
didn't get sick. So it is
You know,
all right.
I feel better
So
than ever.
woo, go run a mile or run a marathon
I was like,
in
I
this
could do a
weather.
mile, but I don't know about a
Eh,
marathon.
you could walk a marathon.
True,
Take you a while.
true. Take me a few hours.
All right. So let's go ahead and crack into this. Zachary, if you could pull up ground news, I just kind of want to do a quick shout out for ground news and just kind of remind everybody that this is where we go to kind of get a lot of our news sources. And, if you follow us on Facebook um, at Neutral News Network, you will find that a lot of the links that we post to try and keep you informed on the news that's happening will be from ground news. I'd say probably 90% of them or more. But yeah, just a quick, review of the headlines here. Judge lifts freeze on Trump's buyout plan for federal workers. Um, you can see there's an article on, former Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney arrested in Georgia accused of assaulting a woman, um, and then so on and so forth. So, you know, ground news is great. It allows a lot of different news sources to aggregate all in one place. So if you were click on one, you can go in there and you can see all of the news reports that have been written on it from around the globe. You can also see the implicit bias that the news organizations have. The one that Zachary's showing, you can see that it looks pretty even on the left, right, and center who's covered it. And then you can see kind of how those um, news organizations, how they fare on are they super left leaning, are they super right leaning, or are they more down the middle? Um, yeah, and you can scroll down, you can view all of the ways that they've titled the article. You can click in each one of those articles and it takes you to their site directly. So, it's just a really great way to get a great bird's eye level view of the news as it's going on. And it's a great way to stay off of social media and keeping you from losing your mind and getting your news from there. So, just wanted to shout that out before we crack into today's episode, which we can start
It's
off
also
with.
good. It's also
Oh,
a good way to like learn how everyone is taking different stances on the news.
that's true. That's true because there's a lot of ways to um, spin a story. There's only
Hmm.
ever one truth, but there's a whole lot of ways to get to that truth. So it's important how you view your data, how you view your information, and how you are able to think rationally about that and make an educated and critically thought out decision or opinion based upon the information that you receive.
And
That's
my
what's important.
Yeah, and my thought with that is if you're viewing each way to spin that news, you can then take the truth out of each article or whatever you read that has those biases.
Yep.
You can take different, you can take the truth out of those.
Mhm. And while we haven't paid for it yet, and we're not necessarily encouraging y'all to either, but I mean, feel free. We don't get anything if you do. Um, but if you guys were to pay Ground News for a more advanced version, you can check out like the factuality of these news sources. So you can see like, is this left wing news source like really inaccurate most of the time? Like, do they kind of sensationalize things? Is this right wing news source really sensationalize things? That way, you can pick out the good versus the bad. Because obviously it's like left and right leaning opinions are perfectly fine, but you still want something that's factual because you don't want them just lying to your face or telling you something that blatantly isn't true. So,
Right.
yeah.
I would also like to give a disclaimer real quick that if the stream abruptly ends, it's because I lost power. So just there
Yes,
are
that
power
is very true.
outages starting to pop up around the area, so it may only be a matter of time.
Okay. Well, good
Fair
to
enough.
know on that ominous warning. But yes, Zachary's currently under an ice storm warning. So hopefully he keeps his power and does not freeze to death tonight in his apartment.
We're supposed to get some freezing rain too,
We're just
but
getting rain down here.
yeah, we're supposed to get we're under a freezing rain warning or whatever it is. So
Uh,
yeah, fun stuff.
I'm gonna go with winter weather advisory for 100.
Yeah,
drum roll. All right. I think we're ready to crack on into it then. So, what I'm going to be covering is basically the United States federal budget. Kind of what it is, how big it is, how much money have we spent, um, all of the above. Um, we as a country spend a lot of money, and we spend a lot of money on a lot of things. And I know that recently, with Doge coming into play, the government, as is, has been looking for ways to cut spending and isolate things that could be um, moved elsewhere, removed entirely, all of the above. So I just kind of want to give people a general sense as to where the money goes. I mean, where does a lot of our large fiscal expenditures go towards? And actually, there's another website that I didn't send to you, Zachary, that I've have loved looking at forever. Um, if you want to actually pop that up real quick, usdebtclock.org. Because I actually forgot about that until we started doing this. So yeah, you can see here they actually have what looks to be a Doge clock, which if you hover over that, does it tell you what it does, Zachary? Because usually at the top it'll like give a disclaimer like so what it's doing.
Where is? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, so there you go. It says real-time savings objective from reducing government waste, fraud, and abuse in federal government agencies. So that's what the Doge clock there is representing. But I mean, this is a very intriguing site for you to kind of see, all of our tax revenue, our expenditures, state debt, U.S. GDP. You know, all of this is kind of in one centralized area. And if you hover over the top middle, the U.S. federal tax revenue, the green one up there, you can see like so this data is being sourced from the Congressional Budget Office. So they're using legitimate sources for these to generate this information that you're seeing here. But just something that I wanted to bring out, just an interesting way to click through and check, all of this. I mean, the numbers are just astronomical at this point. I mean, $36 trillion in debt. That's 107,000 debt per citizen, and that includes the 2-minute old baby that was born at 8:05 p.m. You know what I mean? So it really does put that into perspective that we do have a spending problem in this country, and it is a valiant effort that I think that we are going to go down to try and fix the expenditure problems that we have in this country. But I think it's going to be a lot tougher than people actually think. But yeah, so with that, we can go ahead and go back to the original link. That was just a initial disclaimer. But yeah, so you can see that so far the government has spent since October 2024 uh, $2.4 trillion.
Brian, when you say expenditure problem,
hmm
do you mean expenditure in the broad sense that we just spend too much money, or do you
And
mean we spend too much money on things we shouldn't spend money on?
um, we, w- it's a very broad statement that we just simply spend more money than we bring in.
Okay.
We are in the red and not in the black because just going off of example, those who might not know history, um, Bill Clinton got us to a surplus in the 90s when he was president. Sorry, what was that? Okay, got it. But yeah, so Bill Clinton got us to a surplus when we were in the 90s, and we actually maintained that surplus shortly into Bush's presidency, I believe, and then that all kind of fell by the wayside with the war in Afghanistan. And then ever since we've been running deficits out the wazoo. But yeah, simply I view it as we are simply spending more than we're bringing in, not necessarily that what we are spending the money on is frivolous and not important.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I just
yeah.
wanted to clear that up and make sure
Yep.
I understood that.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So if you want to scroll down, Zachary, there'll be a zone that says spending categories. So keep on going down to that. All right. Let's wait for that to load. You might have to scroll down just a little bit more to get it to load.
But that's the other thing about that
Yeah.
too is everyone has their own opinion on w- what we
What's
should be
important and what's
spending.
not.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you're
And
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and that usually divides upon political lines.
mhm,
Um, but I feel like there is a lot of misconception. There's a lot of people who are just like, "Oh, I don't think we should spend money on that," and then they realize that it actually does do something, and they're like, "Okay, maybe we shouldn't cut that." But then it comes
right,
down to then what do we cut? Like like
right.
what is it that we cut? Um,
Yeah, and
because
that's where you have to like look at the priorities, and that's where you have to like as an American citizen, you have to like look at what you value.
Right. Yeah, what you value and the thing is that, and this is just me talking about me here. I try and view things from the we're a united nation type deal. Like, the money that I spend in my federal taxes, as you can see in this breakdown here, 21% of it goes to Social Security, 15% of it goes to Medicare. Um, I might not get either of those things. I might not get to see a single dollar of either of those things because the money for it might simply run out by the time that I get to be that age. And yet, if we just stop spending it, then, not saying it in your case, but let's just say, Jake, you've got grandparents who rely on that social security check every week or every month. I think they come in monthly, but you rely on that social security check. It might not be much, but if that goes away, then are we really going to subject millions of 60-year-old and more Americans to just lose potentially half or a third or even more of their income and just say, sorry, good luck? Like, are we like, I just don't feel like that's right, even though
I
I'm not going to
mean,
benefit from it at all.
that's fair.
Hmm.
I guess my kind of I can see it from both sides. I
Hmm.
can see why and why not, I guess.
Hmm.
Um,
Right. I mean, the thing
yeah.
is, well, and so part of my background at Bowling Green was, I was a geography major. And I learned, obviously world geography, economics. We learned about population demography as well. The thing is that this Social Security and Medicare spending will come to pass. It just might take a little bit longer. And the reason I say that is because, um, obviously, the baby boomers were the largest generation that the United States had ever seen. Every subsequent generation after the baby boomers has been smaller. Okay, so that in itself explains the problem that we're in. You have a lot of people that are getting a lot of benefits and social benefits at the top, right? Age wise. Okay, well, the Generation X has to pay for them, and they're a smaller generation. Then the millennials are smaller than Gen X. Actually, they might be slightly larger, but either way, they're very similar in size. And then you've got Gen Z, that's smaller than the millennials, and now you're having Gen Alpha, which is smaller than Gen Z, and then Generation Beta, which is, I believe, this is the first year of Generation Beta, is probably going to be smaller than Generation Alpha. So you've got this big stack at the top. So an inverted pyramid basically is what you have, and you have to find a way to raise enough money to pay for the benefits for your largest population cohort with
I
smaller and
see what you're
smaller and
saying.
smaller
Okay.
cohorts. Yeah. Like that's
Mhm.
the thing. It's like it's just tough to generate that income when you don't have anybody there to help pay for it. You just don't have the bodies to pay for it. Now if it was the other way around and we had a super tiny population of elderly folk, then you could pay for it. You could pay for everything for them. Not saying everything in general, but you could pay for everything for them because they're a lot smaller population and you have a much larger population base to funnel everything up towards them. But it's the inverse case here. So a lot of our expenditures you can see on this chart are Social Security, Medicare, and health. I'm just saying, and I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. If everybody in this country who is 65 or older just disappeared, you would see all of those costs go down immensely, and they would no longer make up almost 40% of our budget. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that we should be getting rid of old people, but I want people to understand that a lot of the expenditures that we are going through are simply due to demography and age. And it will come to pass where this is no longer a problem. And the reason that Bill Clinton in the 90s was able to help get a surplus was because those people who are now 65, 70, 75, well, 25 years ago, they were in their prime working years. They were able to pay more into taxes. They were able to fund more government spending. And now if they're older, they're not working as much. They're potentially making less money or they're not working at all. They're completely retired. So they're not putting any money into federal taxes because if you're
So
retired, you're just claiming your income.
so why is the pyramid so inverted then? So because wouldn't we
Yeah.
be putting into that too?
Well,
Like the
yeah.
like us working?
Well, so are you talking about the money pyramid or the demography pyramid?
The
Because I
demography
guess we
pyramid.
can. Okay, so
Well, it kind of
um,
runs both together because because you're telling me there's more people on Earth that are not of like working age.
correct. Well, no, no, no. There are probably more people on Earth that are working.
I
We're
meant like
talking in.
all right, United States. Yeah, United
Yeah.
States.
So the United States, like there are. So the problem is that there are more people. Sure, there are more people in the working cohorts right now
Mhm.
than there are retirees. Right. But the people who like, let's just say, Jake, you started investing in your Roth IRA when you were 18 years old back in 1956. Okay.
Okay.
So you've invested in that every single day until you turn 60 and you can start withdrawing that tax
Mhm.
free. Emphasis, tax
Tax
free.
free. Yeah.
You've paid your taxes on that income or on that, stuff you put in your IRA over time through the 50s. So now, once you retire at 60 years old, how much taxes are you contributing to the federal government? A hell of a lot less.
Right.
A hell of a lot less. And the baby boomers are one of the biggest generations.
Yes.
They're all retiring, so they're contributing a lot less in taxes, but they're also getting Social Security and Medicare benefits. So they're contributing less in taxes, but they're getting more benefits. So you can see where that discrepancy comes. And if they're a huge generation, like they are, then you're going to run into,
Okay, I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, they're just not putting in as much as they're now taking out. And
Okay.
since they're so large, that effect is being compounded. So that's the and you're also running into this
All right,
cascading effect where, yep,
let me come at it from a different side. Why am
yep.
I why can't I just put money for me away? Why is it going my money going to somebody else?
Well, you are. That's what your IRA's for, your 401k. You're
Okay,
putting all
but
that money away for you in the future.
yes, but I guess what I'm saying is like with Social Security, I'm not like you said, we're not going to touch that.
Right.
We might not even touch that. Why? Why? Why?
Because you are you are
Like
funding it
why am I
for
putting
the
money yeah, why am I putting money into it now?
because you uh, it is a social program that was put in decades ago, and I
Mhm.
don't think they had the foresight to understand the future population demographic. I mean, it's tough to predict the future
Right. Yeah,
population demographics.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, no,
I'm
no.
just
You're
asking
absolutely
yeah,
you're absolutely right, and that's the thing is it's the It's for the greater good thing.
Mhm.
That's why. Because you as a citizen are paying your taxes to be a good citizen, and you are paying their taxes so that the Social Security check that goes to, Joe Smith, who is a 67 retired, Army veteran who doesn't work. He's retired. He's, he didn't have a big retirement savings. He retired from the army. He gets his, VA check, but it's VA check and a Social Security check. Those are his only two sources of income at all.
Mhm.
And unless he wants to go back and work somewhere, if you cut his Social Security check, his income, depending on how much he gets from his VA check, it could potentially get cut in half. And I don't know about you, but if your income got cut in half, that would be not so good, right?
Yep.
Especially if you've got a mortgage payment, if maybe you don't have a significant other to help pick up the costs. Maybe as you're getting older, you obviously have more health expenditures as well. So it all cascades into this. You're doing it for the greater good in a sense.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, does it suck? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, it sucks. But you're paying it forward in a sense. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to just
No,
bring
I
up
mean,
here.
what you're saying makes sense. It's
Mhm.
just like I could see where the disagreement with a lot of
Oh,
that
abso
comes from.
a
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I
Yeah.
understand why people want to cut Social Security and Medicare.
Mhm.
I mean, I totally understand why. I'm just making the argument that, we're doing it for a purpose. We're doing it for the 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 boomers out there who, don't have 3 cars and a 4,000 square foot house and 5 acres of land. We're doing it for the boomers who live in, you know, group housing, like really, really rent controlled areas where they're just struggling to get by because if you cut off Social Security to those people, then they're screwed.
See,
They're
yes,
absolutely
I
screwed.
I agree with that, but the people that have that 5
Mhm.
acres of land, that big, like, farmhouse,
Yep.
that they're still collecting checks too. I'm not saying
Yeah.
take away the money. I'm just saying I
No,
I'm not
and
giving I'm just
and
this is the things I'm thinking about. Like,
no,
I understand it, and this is why people get frustrated about it.
absolutely. And I'm kind of the opinion that um they could get away with not necessarily cutting that from them, but
Mhm.
finding a way to purpose, like, you know, maybe shift it down a little bit. Like, you know, it's based upon your income and you still get something like a
Right.
ratio based upon like what your income is. Like you're still getting something, but maybe, people at the lower end of the spectrum, the lower income levels, they get a little bit more. I don't know. That's the
Right,
thing though.
right.
And
Yeah.
that's where this comes from. It leads to discussion and it leads to
Mhm.
hopefully somebody in power finding a solution.
Yeah,
So
I mean, and it's one of those things that's super difficult to find a good solution for.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
So
why
and
people gotta read and do their own research about it.
DYOR. Yeah. But if you want to flip over to the next website that I sent your way, Zachary. All right. Get that pulled up on my end. So yeah, let's scroll down to the first pie here. So you can see here that this is what the pie looked like in 2021, right after COVID. Okay. So the interest, okay, for people who know what interest is, actually, for people who don't know what interest is. So basically, the government has to borrow money just like Jake or I would have to borrow money if we go to a bank, right? Uh, Jake wants a loan for $100,000. The bank says, "Sure, Jake, absolutely, that's fine. I
Oh,
want you to
sweet.
pay me 3% on that 100,000 every year." Okay, Jake's like, "Great, you guys just gave me $100,000 and I only have to pay 3% interest on that. Okay, cool. How long is that loan for, Jake? That loan's for 10 years. Okay, so that means that the total price of the loan after 10 years is $130,000. Okay, so basically the federal government like gets billions and billions of dollars and gets the loans for the market, like the basically the federal funds rate is what they get it for, um, which back in 2021 post COVID was 0.25%. It's pretty good,
That's
pretty
pretty
cheap.
solid. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
cheap.
um, it is not that anymore. It is I believe 4.5% at last check. So
That's a huge
ev-
increase.
it's a massive increase. And
Yeah.
so you have to think that the government now, every time they borrow a dollar, their cost to borrow that dollar has gone up exponentially since 2020. So every dollar that we're spending over the deficit right now is actually making the deficit worse because of the interest that we have to tack on top of the loans that we're issuing. So this net interest thing. I wish this data was like more up to date. Unless it's on the debt clock. I'm gonna go check the debt clock real quick. I want to see if there's interest on. Yeah, there you go. So middle left there. U.S. total interest paid. U.S. total interest paid includes household, business, state, and local governments, financial institutions, and the federal government. So, I mean, you can see there's $5.168 trillion worth of interest out there. There's also $1.7 trillion of student loan debt and $1.35 trillion of credit card debt out there. So there's a lot of debt floating around out there. But you can see that that's kind of where this issue can start to spiral, and why there are a lot of people out there who want um, these debts to get like basically that why they want the deficit to shrink because they're seeing these numbers climb the way that they are and they're going like we can't keep doing this. And I agree.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, we also are what the world calls the world reserve currency. So a lot of the world does a lot of its trade and financing in United States dollars. So until and unless that changes, we can really kind of just issue money with impunity. Nobody's really going to stop us. Um, but it does tend to raise inflation, as we've seen over the last few years. So, but yeah. So, anyways, back to um, this web page. So you can see that the discretionary income, that's technically everything that the government, you know, chooses to spend money on. Like things like NASA, things like the Department of Education is a discretionary, I'm pretty sure. Certain types of health expenditures, health funding. So you can see that's only 22.8% of the 2021 spending. The rest is all mandatory, which I'm sure it breaks down. Yeah. Actually, so let's scroll down a little bit. So this is the discretionary funding. This is everything the government gets to play with, right? You see the military right there, $7.52 billion. Huge chunk there. And then education second, then health, and so on and so forth. And, you know, honestly, I don't think that a lot of these are bad. I don't think that, I don't think that I mean, I understand that we are the world's superpower, so I understand why we need to spend a lot of money on the military. Education, I mean, they're trying to eliminate the Department of Education currently, which would save them if they got rid of it and didn't if they just straight up nuked it and didn't readjust anything to any other divisions, which is what they're saying they're going to do. They're basically saying if they get rid of the Department of Education, they're going to give some of the programs in the Department of Education to other groups that you see here, like
So
Health and Human Service.
they would dissolve it into a different group.
Yeah, they would dissolve the Department of Education and then take the programs that are within it and spread them out to other
Okay,
departments.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's how they're currently advertising the dismantling of the Department of Education at this time.
So question about that. If
Okay, I might have an answer.
doing that s- to get some of that money back,
Hmm.
but you're also putting these programs into other departments, wouldn't you have to give them more money?
So yes, but you don't have to. You could just tell them
Okay.
to make do with what they have, and then tell them that
And
they
then
need to
write it in
reapportion their
there.
budgets. Yeah,
Okay.
like because technically you could just be like, you're not getting any more money. this is now your program.
Mm.
Find a way to cut
Make it
something
work.
else to
Right.
make it work. Right? Yeah. So
Right.
it leads to that.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
but yeah.
That
So
makes
but
sense.
you can
That
kind of
makes
see
sense.
what it all breaks down into. I mean,
Mm.
I also find it kind of crazy that like science, food and agriculture, and like energy and environment are all sub $50 billion um, line items. I
Yeah,
mean,
food.
just
Yeah, I saw the food on there. I'm like, wow, that seems small for what we put into our bodies.
I want to see if I can find something here. I just to put it in to comparison. So I'm not advocating for the liquidation of Apple. I like their phones. I use their phones.
Hmm.
But I just want to point out that Apple, the company, right, is worth $3.6 trillion. So if you just take Apple and Thanos snap it, you could technically fund the government for 2 years. That's it. So
Still,
I want to.
that's crazy that one company can do that though.
Right, right. And that's why I'm not advocating for Apple to get Thanos snapped, but I just want you to realize like how big Apple is compared to the federal government. But you got to remember, that was only for 2 years. Apple's been building its brand and its reputation and everything that it now stands for in the world for, like, I would say about 40, 50 years now. Nice cat, by the way. Um,
Oh,
yeah, cat's walking. Oh, the other
oh,
side. There
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Yeah. But so you can see it's just like it's you can't solve this problem just by taxing everyone to oblivion. I do think that some people could be paying more in taxes, but you have to realize like even if we were to take, you know, Apple, Nvidia, and Microsoft, the top three companies on the planet right now, not just the world, or it's not just the United States, but the planet, the world, you'd only fund the government for like 8 years. That's if you just nuked them out of existence. Actually, the total market cap of all of the stock market in the like every single stock in the world according to largest companies by market cap, that's on companiesmarketcap.com, is $116 trillion. Okay, and again, that's our discretionary spending at 1.6. So you couldn't even fund the United States government for 100 years if you evaporated every single country out there. That's why I'm saying like
So where do you get the money from?
well, you print it, Jake. You just make more of
Yeah, that's what I'm
it.
saying.
Well, I mean, it really does come down to, there are cuts that need to be made. There is either cuts that need to be made, or what you
Okay,
do is you inflate away the debt. Okay. So,
okay.
do you know what I mean by that?
Is that where you stop giving stop I think I know. Just I think I know what it means. You stop giving money to like people that are loaning out the money.
Um, not quite.
All right, maybe
Not
I'm thinking of
qu-
something else.
so think of it this way. You let's put it this way. You find a way to this kind of goes back to the loan story that we just had, where it's $130,000, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So inflating the way the debt works like this. Jake, you borrow $100,000 from me. Okay.
Okay.
I issue the loan at 3%.
Hmm.
Jake goes, cool, 3%. That's a hell of a deal. Well, inflation's 5%. Or no, so inflation is 5%. So basically that money, then if I'm explaining this right, I feel like I might be explaining something backwards and I'm going to be really embarrassed if I am. But basically, there's a method in which you inflate away the debt by you borrow the money, and then the inflation goes higher than the amount of money that you eventually like took out. And so that when you're repaying it with lower priced dollars. So like In
Okay,
this
so
case,
the value of the dollar would be lower than the
right, but like so
okay.
let's just say you make 5% interest on it, right?
Mhm.
Um so you're making $5,000 on it a year. Like let's just say yeah, like let's say the bank gave it to you at 3% and but you're getting now 5% from the bank, okay? So
Okay.
you're technically like you're making that 2% in the interest that you're getting back from the loan. So technically like the money is going to be worth like $150,000 after the 10 years, but you only paid 130 for it. So like you're inflating the currency. It's like it's still technically losing value because it's like you're running into inflation. But I had a better way to explain this, and it kind of like escaped me right before I did it, so now I'm goofed. Um, but yeah, basically that's a way that countries can like negate some of their federal deficit spending is by inflating away their debt.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying to get at. There are plenty of YouTube videos on it from people who explain it really really well, like economists. Um, uh,
Yeah, I'm sure there's some really good. I'm interested to look up some stuff about this.
uh, Reba Parsley. It is nuts. I don't know what portion that you're probably talking about, but I'm guessing you're probably talking about me nuking all of the companies and that still not being able to fund our discretionary spending for 100 years. Because that's just our discretionary. That's not everything that we have to spend mandatory. Like
So,
so,
it,
which you can scroll down, Zachary, to look at that. By the way,
according to Google, it says inflating away the debt is a policy where a government intentionally increases inflation to reduce the value of its debt. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're. I can see where you're
it,
going with that. Yeah.
yeah, like
Uh huh.
I know I messed something up, but it's in that same light. Basically, the money that you're paying back the debt that you took out 10 years ago is like technically worthless, but you have more of it now, so you can go back and pay it all off. Like
Hmm.
it's yeah,
I see what you're saying. That's interesting.
especially because you print the money. You like the United States government prints the money, but they also do have to you know, accept it on a loan basis, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you can see here. So, again, this is 2021, but $5.2 trillion in mandatory federal spending. You see the big one, Social Security, unemployment, and labor, and then you go into Medicare and health, and then after that, it's the military, and or no, actually, sorry, not after that. It's education, food and agriculture, veterans benefits, transportation, housing, community, and there's some mandatory military spending down there. But yeah, um, so yeah, if there you go. If you were to nuke Apple, you couldn't even fund the
Oh,
mandatory
so you gotta
federal.
stop saying nuke.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. It
Oh,
just doesn't. Not what
is it?
I'm thinking. Not what I'm thinking when you say
Oh, are
that.
we getting flagged?
Yeah,
Great.
we're on a watch list somewhere.
Yeah, that's why we have 9
Yeah.
viewers right now.
Yeah.
Spooky. Great. We're getting flagged by YouTube already. I love it. All right. And then did I send you one more article, Zachary? We can look through that real quick. All right. So yeah, this is actually yeah, is that the CBO one? Just double checking. Okay. Yeah, so this is the Congressional Budget Office. This is what feeds that US Debt Clock website that I showed you earlier. Um, and I feel like this has some really good graphics to kind of put some of this stuff into perspective. So when you're looking at this first graphic right here, if you scroll up, Zachary, to the top, yeah, so you can see right there, total outlays 6.1 trillion, total revenues 4.4 trillion. So you do 6.1 minus 4.4, you're left with what is that? 1.7, yeah, 1.7, yeah, 1.7 trillion dollars in the hole as of 2023. So that's how much money we're adding to the deficit every year, 1.7 trillion dollars. And you can see, we're spending 700 billion dollars on the interest every year. So that means just the interest on our debt is 700 billion of that 1.7 trillion. So it's zero point 0.7 of that 1.7 trillion that we're just literally we're not getting anything for that. That's 700 billion dollars, Jake, that we are just poof, fly away, you know?
Yeah,
Like and what's crazy is that
that's
the
wild.
again, like the Department of Education gets, what did we say it was back in? Yeah, so
21.
the
Yeah, I don't
Department of
remember.
Education back in 2021 got how much? I just want to put this into perspective. It got 160 billion. The military, the United States military, right, spent in discretionary spending in 2021 $750 billion. So we take in 1 year, we basically take the entire budget that we spend on the military and we throw it into a furnace and light it on fire just to pay the interest rate or the interest on our debt. And we have a
That's
pretty sizable military, lots of shiny toys. So
yeah.
you can just imagine that. And this is 2023. So I'm sure it's gotten worse. Yeah, and then you scroll down, Zachary, it goes into the outlays. It shows you kind of breaking it down. You can see, yeah, there's the net interest on the debt, which you can hover over that, and it gives like a short little disclaimer on like what you know net interest outlays are the government's interest payment on debt held by the public, offset by the interest income the government receives. So this is after the government gets a cut back of the interest that they're getting from people. There's still $659 billion in the hole. And then
Well,
there's, yeah, your non-defense. There's your defense. So your defense is at 805 billion. See Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Those are your big ones. And again, those are things that um, are for that older demographic. Um, that it's just one of those things. Like the think of it this way, right? A python eats a big snake, or a python eats a big pig, like a big pig for breakfast, right?
mhm.
And the thing is, like, so that python is just processing this big pig all the way through the system until it eventually finally digests it and it gets out of its way. So that's kind of what's happening right now with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, is that we have this huge glut of individuals who need those services, and the snake, we're like, we just can't get it processed out quick enough. So that's the problem, is like it's just stuck there and it's slowly working its way through, and it'll finally clear out. I mean, and obviously, sadly, when the baby boomers pass away, and I think that that will solve a lot of our issues, um, kind of on its own. It's just a matter of us not letting the debt spiral out of control, like the interest payments on the debt that we're looking at spiral out of control. So
Right. And it seems like it's starting. I mean, it's been spiraling,
yeah,
is what it feels like.
um, yeah, yeah, right,
It might
and
not
it
be
it is.
near as
It
bad as it's going to be.
Right, and that all just depends on how things shake out in the next few years. If we don't go into a recession, then we'll be fine. If we do, then it'll get dicey because tax revenues decrease during recessions, and the only thing that's kind of keeping us anywhere close right now is our tax revenues at
Mm.
4.4 trillion. Um, but if you want to scroll down, you can see where the taxes come from. You can see that most people, like most taxes, come from income taxes, payroll taxes, then huge drop off in corporate income taxes, and then other, estate tax, excise tax, gift tax, things like that, customs, like tariffs,
Mm.
tariff taxes, things like that. But me throwing out my opinion, full disclosure, I think that we could bring this number up just a little bit, and maybe bring Jake's taxes down a little bit. But that's just my opinion.
Just my
Um,
taxes.
just Jake's taxes. Uh, but then, yeah, so we'll go ahead and scroll down to the bottom here, and you can see the debts and deficits, and you can kind of see how they've been coming up as of late, percentage of GDP, and so you can see, where the average was from 1974 to 2023, and we're really starting to kind of, I mean, we're definitely been trending up since 2000. You can see that we've been slowly working our way up. You can almost draw a new trend line from the bottom there all the way up to where we are now. Um, and then you can scroll down and see the debt held by the public. And with that, I need a drink, and that's a great segue into what Jake wants to talk about because I've rambled on for about 40 minutes now. So
Yeah.
I will give you some time to chat about your topic.
Okay. So can kind of going not kind of going off with like substances and substance abuse in my
From last
little
week's episode.
from last week, yeah, from last week's episode about fentanyl. I wanted to talk about alcohol and alcohol research that's been coming out slowly um over the past few years and more recently. Um, so recent studies have provided new insights into the health implications of alcohol consumption, highlighting both potential therapeutic applications and significant health risks. So, a recent clinical trial suggests that this word always I've been trying to say it. I cannot say it right. It's semaglutide,
Oh,
semaglutide. Uh,
semi-glutide.
yeah, that's it. I
Yep.
can for the life of me, I
That
can't
one.
say it. Yeah, that's it. And it's initially developed for type 2 diabetes and now used for weight loss. I believe it's in like Ozempic.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not sure. They might be separate drugs, but
yeah, I think they
uh,
might be separate,
it's
but
same. Yeah, same concept.
same concept. Um, and it may significantly reduce alcohol consumption and cravings in individuals with alcohol use disorder. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I don't want to take the wind out of your sails, but I have
Yeah,
also seen some updates with that drug as well that it causes osteoporosis because it sometimes prevents your body from absorbing the nutrients that it needs. So you can sometimes get bone degradation from taking it for
and
long periods of time.
that's possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
getting.
I just wanted to throw it out there.
I'll get into like the more health
Oh,
risks,
oh, oh. Oh
but
no, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. I don't know if I had that in there. Um, so, but uh, so all right, I'll just go into the health risks. Concerning increase in alcohol related health issues in the United States, the number of liver transplants due to alcohol related liver disease is rising among young adults, especially women, which I thought was interesting. Historically, liver transplants were more common among men in their 50s and 60s, but now more young women in their 20s and 30s require the surgery.
Wow.
Um, Dr. James Burton from the University of Colorado stressed that nearly 50% of liver transplants are alcohol related. So,
Okay.
so 20, so half of the young women in their 20s and 30s are, I I would say 50% are alcohol related. The reason for those transplants, which is which is crazy.
Yeah. I'd almost be curious. If they stated at some point like what the percentage like increase was from like the baseline for women in general
Yeah,
suffering like
I can do some more. I'll do some more research on that, and I'll send it to Zach, and we can get it out there,
okay.
like on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
Um, but so the situation worsened during COVID with increased alcohol consumption. Women process alcohol differently, making them more vulnerable. Um, so a 31-year-old from Colorado shared her experience of needing a liver transplant after years of heavy drinking during her 20s. She emphasizes the normalization of heavy drinking in society and aims to raise awareness through her story. Her name's Emma Lillibridge. Um, Lillibridge received a liver transplant in October 23. Is now sober, healthy, and preparing for her future with a new career and upcoming marriage. Um, and then kind of jumping over to the United Kingdom. And in the United Kingdom, alcohol related deaths reached a record high of 10,473 in 2023, and increase from 10,048 in 2022. Health experts attribute this rise to increased alcohol consumption that started during the COVID-19 lockdowns of 2020. Recommendations to curb drinking related harm include implementing minimum unit pricing for alcohol. Men are more than twice as likely as women to die from excessive drinking, with higher death rates in Scotland and Northern Ireland compared to England and Wales. Despite the growing number of deaths, UK's overall death rate from alcohol fell slightly. Experts urge for stronger government action to address alcohol harm, emphasizing the need for the minimum unit pricing in England to save lives and improve public health. I thought that was interesting because I would have never thought about minimum unit pricing for alcohol.
Mhm.
Um, and that's basically like I'm assuming that is per unit of alcohol. y- There's a minimum you have to pay.
Mhm.
Um, I,
Also,
I yeah, I just thought that was
uh,
interesting.
you know, my my brain and curiosity's sake,
Hmm.
having lived in the great cheese state of Wisconsin, where water is beer and beer is water. So um, I was curious. I was looking at there's a Statista page, and I looked up liver transplants by state. So I
Hmm.
didn't know if that was like, is this where the best hospitals are? Is this where the population is the highest or whatnot? Um, but Wisconsin comes in at 186. So I'd be curious. So let's do some quick maths here, and then I'll let you
See, my
get
my
back.
other th- my other thought was that with that is you need a good liver to be able to transplant it, and
That
those aren't just
that's
available
true.
all the time either.
That's very true. Yeah.
And that could be by state population too, because it looks like in 2023 California had the most
Right. California, I believe, does have the largest population, which is why I believe it has the most electoral
most
college votes. Yeah.
right, but it also has apparently the
But
most liver transplants.
so and but now
But
that's the thing is like
I don't know if that's comparable to
well, we're about to compare it.
the lowest one. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
We're about to compare it because we've got 1,202, 1,202 divided by, okay, so that times 100. So 0.003% of Californians got a liver transplant. So remember that 0.003.
And
Okay.
apparently 50% of those
Mhm.
is due to alcohol consumption.
Okay. So point zero zero 0.0015. Okay, so now we're going to go to the great state of Wisconsin. What is the population of Wisconsin? We're doing math here, kids. Trying to figure out if there's a trend. So Wisconsin has 186 and a population of 5.911 million. So, so let me do this. 186 divided by times. Ah,
Hmm.
so it is ever so slightly higher than California's.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Ever so slight, because even if you times it by point 0.5, so you're 0.00156 instead of 0.0015.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
you're 6/10,000ths of a percent higher. But you know, I would be curious how much. I see now. This is where we go down the math spiral. It's like how
Yeah.
much more alcohol does Wisconsin consume on a
And
per capita basis to
then
California? Because
California.
because obviously California consumes more just because of their sheer population difference, but per capita, Wisconsin drinks like a drunken sailor.
And
But anyways,
that's not even considering other states either. It could be it could
right.
be way worse in other states. I'm trying to think of a state that, drinks a ton.
I mean,
But every
Wisconsin's the
state
one.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
believe that.
But what's interesting is like, the ones that are down at the bottom, I wouldn't have necessarily anticipated them being at the bottom. Like New Mexico had 0. Uh,
Mhm,
Delaware had 3, but they're a small state. Um, South Carolina only had 49. Mississippi only had 45.
mhm.
Mississippi definitely isn't known for their outstanding health prowess. So,
Right.
just interesting. Just
Yeah.
definitely
Wait,
something.
is Cole
Yeah.
in here? He might be able to weigh in on Mississippi. I don't know.
Nope. I don't see him. We'll see if he
Um,
responds at some point.
yeah. But all right. So to continue, health health authorities continue to emphasize the risks associated with alcohol consumption. The World Health Organization, or WHO, states that alcohol is a toxic, psychoactive, and dependence producing substance and has been classified as a Group 1 carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer decades ago. This is the highest risk group, which also includes asbestos, radiation, and tobacco. Um, Alcohol causes at least 7 types of cancer, including the most common cancer types such as bowel cancer and female breast cancer. Um, in summary, while emerging treatments like that it's that word again,
Oh, semi-glutide.
semaglutide. There you go. There I go. I can't say that for the life of me. um, Offer hope for addressing alcohol use disorder. The broader public health landscape underscores the persistent and growing risks associated with alcohol consumption. And then there's ongoing research and public health initiatives remain crucial in mitigating these risks and promoting healthier lifestyles. So
Yep.
I'm not saying don't drink. I'm just saying drink in moderation.
Yep.
Um,
Give your liver some time to do its job. Don't
yeah,
don't overload
don't
it.
yeah, don't overdo it.
Yep.
Um, it's just something to look out for, and there's more and more things coming out about alcohol and the bad things it can do to your body.
Yep.
So just be mindful. Read about it. It's interesting. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Extra,
but
extra. Read all about it.
and don't drink and drive.
Oh, yes, don't do that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. That'll lead to Jake driving to your house and bonking you on the head with a hammer.
I won't do that, but
Figuratively speaking, of course.
I won't
He'll be
do that.
very
But
disappointed in you.
don't do it. That's just another thing that comes with alcohol. It's terrible. But all right, that's my 2 cents
All
about
right.
alcohol.
Well, we are at time for the most part. I know we got 2 minutes left, which I think we can give Zachary some time back and let him talk about
Oh,
what he wants to bring up.
Oh boy, do I have
Co-
stories to
Cole,
cover that there 2 minutes.
Boy.
Cole just messaged me and he
Uh-oh.
said, um, someone he knows and their relative just got a liver transplant
Oh wow.
down in Mississippi. So yeah,
Well,
interesting.
Cole, if you get us to 100 subscribers, we'll start doing guests and you can come on and talk all about it.
Yeah, you can talk about. Yeah, we can. Yeah, that works.
Pick your brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Zachary, send us home with your stuff and then I will talk us out.
So, with the news of record high egg prices, when things are harder to obtain, crime related things, related to that stuff tends to go up. In Pennsylvania, 100,000 eggs were taken out of the back of a trailer, and they still have no idea who did it. So, for those of you who have eggs, protect them with your life, because I'm just kidding. Don't do that. The eggs aren't worth it. They're eggs.
They're
But
eggs. They're eggs, people.
yeah. But with bird flu, and just general inflation and whatnot, please leave me alone. Okay. Uh, yeah. Egg prices keep going up. People are doing silly things to try to make more money, such as stealing 100,000 eggs, worth about $40,000 for those playing along at home. In other news, if you are a cat lover and want to move to the fine country of Scotland,
Scotland.
maybe don't do that,
Oh God.
because
Oh God, the cat.
they were considering what was being labeled as a ban on cats, because apparently in Scotland cats are a big
What?
nuisance and killing. They kill 700 million birds and other animals each year in the UK. So cats are out of control.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They're an invasive species. They're invasive species.
I mean, to be fair, they are everywhere, but that's nuts. I mean, I can't even imagine what the number is in the United States then. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
The Scottish government has come out.
Are they killing chickens too?
The eggs.
Probably.
The eggs, yeah. Let's tie it back to the eggs.
So the Scottish government has come out to say they are not, in fact, going to ban cats, but they are considering all recommendations, which include, cats have to be on a leash, got to get them spayed or neutered, all
Good
that
luck with
fun
that.
stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
But Scotland
they
is aware
needed
that
Bob
they love
Barker.
their cats. True. So
Yeah, they needed Bob Barker.
Alternatively, if you
I
love
love
cats, Scotland might be the place to go because there's a ton of them. Maybe just don't take your own
There
cat.
you go. Yeah, don't take your own cat, and the ones that you decide
And
to
then just
adopt.
feed all the outside cats. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that.
That's awesome.
All right,
All
that's all I
right.
got.
Well, with that, this wraps up another episode of the Nurture News Network, and we greatly appreciate you all for tuning in. And we just want to wish you, just great thanks on our end. We really appreciate you guys tuning in every week. And to anybody who is new, we greatly appreciate. Skylar, leave the cats alone. I agree. I agree. But the cats, they're trained and honed killers, so you just got to be responsible with them.
Remember that when they're sleeping next to you at night.
Exactly. They are apex predators in their own right. All right. But with that, we encourage you to like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to shoot us any questions. We are on Facebook now, so feel free to follow us on Facebook and shoot us your questions on there as well. But with that, just feel free to give us a subscribe. Tell your friends about us. And with that, we will let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk.